Let's get some reaction now on the Phala Phala report with ATM President Vuyo Zungula. Mr. Zungula, appreciate your time on the show today. Now, as a member of the opposition, what is your response to the acting public protector's clearance of President Cyril Ramaphosa of any wrongdoing in this whole Phala Phala saga?
Look, it is a betrayal of the intention of the creation of that Chapter 9 institution, because a Chapter 9 institution such as the Office of the Public Protector is there to basically protect the public from political individuals or the people that have got political power, who abuse their political power for whatever reasons. However, what we've seen in our country when it comes to any scandals that have got something to do with the political parties or political individuals is that it is always the officials that take the blame. In Waterkloof, the same thing happened. Even now, the same thing is happening whereby, in accordance to the Deputy Public Protector, Mr. Ramaphosa is just an innocent person who saw nothing, did nothing. The only guilty person here, it is the General, Mr. Wally Rode. Whereas in his own affidavit, Mr. Wally Rode does stipulate that he was brought into the hotel of the president. He was informed about the crime, and he was given instruction to deal with the matter. So anything that flows from the actions of Mr. Wally Rode stems from that instruction that was given to him by his political principal, which is Mr. Ramaphosa.
Well, he's accused of having overstepped his authority, if you will. But I suppose the question is, how would he have known without being informed?
Look, it is him, Mr. Wally Rode, that is formed by the president. And the fact that even now, just recently, Mr. Ramaphosa went with other African leaders to Ukraine and Russia. Mr. Wally Rode was there, meaning all of the actions, meaning Mr. Ramaphosa did not see anything wrong with Mr. Wally Rode, because if he did, and if it surfaced in 2022 that these are the actions of Mr. Wally Rode, that he took a clandestine operation, used state resources, he abused people in the process. But the fact that he traveled with the president just a few weeks ago clearly shows that Mr. Ramaphosa is fine, is happy with Mr. Wally Rode being in his employ, being so close to him, because if he was not happy or he was not okay with him being so close to him, there is no way in which a person that is accused of using state resources to do a clandestine operation, you would keep them being in the presidential protection services. The fact that he's still there, meaning Mr. Ramaphosa, number one, was aware in 2020, and he gave his blessing, because there is no way a political an official would act without the instruction of the political principal, which is Mr. Ramaphosa.
Well, SAPs have been given 60 days, I think, to act on Wally Rode. How do you expect them to react?
Look, they are going to throw him under the bus. That is what is expected in all of the officials in our country. They are going to protect the political principal, and the one that is going to take all of the flag, it is Mr. Wally Rode. Something that all officials should actually be worried about, that they are going to be used by the ones that have got political power. But when issues, come to this extent, it is them that will actually take the blame. It is them that will have their bad name and reputations, whereas they were acting via the instruction of the political principals. It's happened in Waterkloof. It is happening now, and God knows it's going to happen again to other individuals. Whenever that political principals are involved, it is always officials that are taken to this extent.
Well, according to the acting public protector, a lot of the issues that were presented by Arthur Fraser are based on hearsay. He apparently refused to disclose the source of information. So it's conjecture, he said, she said. But the one thing that is clear is that President Cyril Ramaphosa, and a stand to be guarded, did confirm that he did have huge amounts of United States dollars within his premises, which were stolen by those with the aid of those that worked for him. We also know that he confirmed this. And according to records, in fact, there is no record of it with either SARS or the South African Reserve Bank. What's your take on that little bit of information?
Look, there are the facts, as you rightfully say. Number one, what is the issue? The first issue is that the president did not report a crime as required by Section 34 of PRECA. Now, Section 34E of PRECA lists the responsible individuals that ought to report a crime or any theft above 100,000 rands. And one of the listed individuals there, it is a member of a close corporation. Phala Phala is a trading name. It is a farm name. But the Ntabanyoni close cooperation has only one member, which is Mr. Ramaphosa. So it is a fact. You can't dispute that fact. The second issue is the issue of paid work. Paid work in the sense that Mr. Ramaphosa was mentally and physically engaged in an activity that brings about, economic benefit to him and his close corporation, of which he's a sole member of. How did he do this? Number one, he went to the conference of the ANC in Limpopo. There he says, I'm a farmer, I sell and buy animals. That is an admission that is involved in paid work. Also, when he responds to the independent panel, he does stipulate that he's been involved in the day-to-day operations whereby he instructs money to be used, to be moved from one place to another. He instructs that these are the animals that need to be sold. Again, he further states that he knows of the potential buyers, meaning this person is actively involved in the running of that particular farm. But the public protector says there's no evidence to that regard. So it is in that spirit or in that mind, as the ATM was saying, that this report was drafted with the sole intention of protecting Mr. Ramaphosa from blatant facts, something that is clear even for a 10-year-old to see that, number one, Mr. Ramaphosa did not report a crime, whereas the legislation in terms of Section 34E of PRECA forces him to do so. Number two, he's been actively involved in the running of that particular farm, and also the issue of the risk of the conflict of interest, because on one side you've got Wally Rode, who is employed by the government to protect Mr. Ramaphosa. Mr. Ramaphosa has got something that is stolen on his personal property, but he instructs Mr. Wally Rode. He does not instruct the general manager to say, you know what happens when we lose some of the animals and we need to, we need to open cases. He instructs a head of a protection services to deal with the matter, instead of saying to the general manager, deal with this in the very same manner that you deal with all of the other issues pertaining to either theft or whatever in our businesses.
Finally, before we let you go, Mr. Zungula, one of the issues, in fact, the reaction to this from other members of the opposition is very, very similar to yours. How do we expect you to move forward, and certainly are you going to be sitting down with other members of the opposition as parliamentarians to take this forward, or is this now done and dusted for you?
We as a party have already engaged our lawyers with a view of reviewing the report. Again, we've also had brief engagements with other leaders of other parties who share the same view that if we let this go, then it means South Africa will never be protected when it comes to the people that occupy political office. The fact that a person is president, is a minister, is premier, they are going to use their political power to actually commit crimes and evade accountability. That is our strongest view as the ATM, that when we fight for accountability in Phala Phala, we're fighting for principle, we're fighting for whoever occupies public office must exercise their power in line with what the Constitution requires and not abuse their powers.
Mr. Zungula, I appreciate your time on News at Prime today. That was Vuyo Zungula, ATM President, speaking to us on the back of that reaction to the Phala Phala Farm report.